Now.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Suckling on the teat of tech.
With Paul Brislen.
Yes, talking high tech with the man himself, now the head of 2Ans, officially in the position, sitting in the chair behind the desk.
I had to move the desk, actually.
What, to sit behind it?
No, to sit in front of it. I don't like sitting behind desks. I've moved it round, you see.
Oh, I see. Yes, new leadership at the top of 2Ans. God, that gardening leave sped on by, didn't it?
It went in a heartbeat, didn't it? 3 months, just like that.
Yeah.
The fastest 3 months on record.
And you've been a bit in the media this week, of course, taking on the new role. People are interested to get your opinion on a few things.
Yeah,
and
I'm a dirty media stop out, as well, you know.
And it seems to be one of the initial things you want to tackle is rural broadband.
Rural, yes. Rural. Step in something rural. I did that the other day. It was quite messy. No, it's a very important topic because, as well, you know, New Zealand is a very rural country, and we have 4 million people in a country the size of Great Britain, for example, with 60-odd million, or Japan with God knows how many tens of millions more people, and yet we really do need the same kind of infrastructure. We need roads, we need rail, we need ports, we also need telecommunications services, and given just how much reliance our economy has on the rural sector, I really do think that we cannot literally afford as a country to let the rural sector slip by the by. So we've got to make sure they've got decent comms so that they can take part in the whole digital economy.
Well, apparently isn't Tauranga going to have better comms than I am in Mount Albert and Auckland City?
I would hope so.
Well, I don't.
I would hope, though. I don't hope so either, because I also live not far from Mount Albert and would very much like a range of choices. I'd like it for all. My main fear is that we do all of this stuff with the ultra-fast broadband in the cities, and you and I get fibre, we get copper, we get fixed wireless, we get all the bells and whistles, and we can choose anything we like, and the farmers are still stuck on fax machines, which is where they are today, because even dial-up connections don't work terribly well on the farms. So purely from an economic point of view, I'd really like them to be connected. From a social point of view, I think it's vitally important. You get the kids who go away to school in the week, come home on the weekends, and they can't send their mates a text, they can't get on Facebook, they can't stay connected. So the first thing they do when they finish university or school or whatever is go off and live in the city.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real shame. I think it's quite destructive to the fabric of society.
Okay, so
that's lofty.
So with the government broadband plan, the fibre to the door, all this kind of stuff, isn't this underway? Isn't this just going to happen?
It is sort of just going to happen. So we've got two projects. We've got the UFB, the Ultra Fast Broadband Project, and that is aimed at the cities and the main population centres. And then we've got the Rural Broadband Initiative, the RBI. And both of them are proceeding apace. Both of them have made several announcements. But the real problem with both of them is that we just don't know what the various companies are offering to do with the money. There's been very little discussion in public around the pros and cons of Telecom's bid versus Vector's bid, for example, for the fibre. We've seen a lot of advertising from both companies, but we actually don't know what they're offering. And there's been a huge lack of debate, I think, in the rural sector in particular, where you've got 3 bids, one of which I know next to nothing about, other than it involves rural maraes and is backed by a number of local iwi. And the other 2 bids, one of them is a joint venture between Telecom and Vodafone, and the third one is a wireless bid using Whoosh, Cordia, and a company called FX Networks for the fibre optic cabling. Other than that, there's been so little information. So I banged the drum a bit and said, well, come on, we actually need to know a little bit about what's being offered so we can compare and contrast.
Yeah, well, and knowledge is power, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah.
Will set us free.
That's right. And if the outcome is that, because a lot of people are going, Telecom and Vodafone in bed together for the betterment of the country. I don't think so. Well, perhaps they've actually got the best bid, but nobody would know because nobody's got a chance to see.
So is the process not transparent enough?
It's not, and it's not for any particular reason. It's not that anybody has said, let's keep this a secret.
Yeah.
It's that nobody's been saying, hang on a minute, let's actually put this out in the public and see what's going on. So that's what I'm doing. And so far we've actually had both... I'm quite pleased to see the Open Gate Consortium, that's FX, Cordia Networks, and Whoosh, have put out a release with some information about what it is they're offering. which looks very exciting. And the Vodafone guys have put out a release about the Vodafone Telecom bit as well, which is a different model. So now you can look at them both and say, well, let's have a look and see what we'd actually like to have in place.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get on to some world technology news.
Yes.
News through this morning that Vodafone in Egypt had done a wee dodgy and sent out some pro-Mubarak texts, and they say they were forced to by the government.
Forced to by the Egyptian government. Yeah, this is one of the problems of doing business in a country that is not completely open and above board. And you tweeted it this morning, a fantastic link to the Guardian website, which has a lovely blog discussing just this issue, that, you know, the likes of Cisco and Google in China, they're actually helping the government oppress people rather than doing what they intend to do, which is freeing up the market so they can make lots of money. And Vodafone's been caught in Egypt because as a telco over there, the Egyptian government has said, well, we can now use your service to... First of all, they cut them all off, of course. Let's not forget that.
That's right, yeah, they turned it off.
Secondly, they say, okay, now we're going to send a text message. You're going to send a text message to all your customers supporting the government in these trying, difficult times of need.
Yeah.
Now, Vodafone did complain bitterly to them, but it's far too late by that stage. You know, they've got to send these messages out, or they just get kicked out of the country and all of their equipment taken off them.
And so where's Vodafone's head office, world headquarters?
It's in the UK.
So that would have gone back to them, and the decision would have come from that head office.
Well, yeah, probably, because each operating company around the world operates in the local market and has to abide by the local laws. So if the law in New Zealand is changed to say, okay, well, if you are copyright, for example, if you're stealing copyright material, or we think you are, we cut you off and throw you in jail. Then Vodafone and the telcos have to provide all of the logs to the authorities. Then that's exactly what you have to do. You comply with the local laws. So
the head office could have a set of morals and a set of ideals for the company, but that all goes out the window. Depending on the different situation in each country.
Yeah, exactly. And Google's a case in point. They make a huge play for their "Do No Evil" slogan, and yet are helping the Chinese government we're helping the Chinese government with the Great Firewall of China, blocking access to search items. Which you'd have to say is about as far removed from do no evil as you can possibly get.
But by the same token, perhaps they're making up for it in Egypt with their with their Twitter. Was it voice to text?
Voice to tweet. Yeah. So Google and Twitter have teamed up. So the Egyptian government got quite smart, not smart enough, but quite smart, and said, "Great. Well, we're going to have a lot of people rioting in the streets. Let's cut off all the communications and the internet so that they can't talk to each other, so they can't get organised. Yes, that'll sort it out."
Yeah.
So off they went, and through some skullduggery and some clever thinking, managed to disconnect Egypt entirely from the internet. No Twitter, no Facebook, all the things we've seen in other countries like Iran when they were rioting in the streets, getting organised using social media.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's all gone. So Google and Twitter have teamed up, and they have put together a series of international phone numbers. Anyone from inside Egypt can ring, leave a voicemail, and teams of people will no doubt be sitting there typing them up and tweeting them out on their behalf.
Wow.
So, basically they can still get organised. They can still arrange everybody to be at a certain place at a certain time, and short of cutting off the phone lines completely, the Egyptian government hasn't got a chance of stopping any of this.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not automatic voice recognition, because I don't know if you've ever tried those. Those are terrible. I'd try to get my important message about the rally. It's going to be happening in the square at the moment. It'll come out saying the goat farmer has
launched a jelly. And yeah, I know just what you mean. They're awful things. I actually think they are. I think they're doing a little bit of that. Because looking at one of these news stories here, Google bought a company called Say Now, and I think they get quite involved in the whole voice recognition software stuff.
Yeah.
So it could be quite entertaining to see what's going on.
Particularly if you've got a fairly thick Egyptian accent.
That's right. Stand down, everyone. The problems are all solved. I can just see everybody goes home, and it's all Google's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's point the finger. But, it just really goes to prove just how important telecommunications and particularly access to the internet is in this day and age. It's a tool for doing business and staying in touch, but it's also a tool for democracy and for helping people express their beliefs and get organised. And that's why I think things like the RBI project are so vitally important. It goes beyond just making money for the country. It's about the fabric of the country itself. Yeah. It's really quite cool.
Indeed. All right. Well, sounds like you've had a great first week. It's been a short week, though, hasn't it?
Short week, but it seems very long all of a sudden. Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Paul. Cheers.
Take care.
Find him on Twitter as well, twitter.com/Paul.